Good day everyone. Today, we were going to report about chapter 14, which is Rizal in London. So, after Rizal visiting in the United States, Rizal lived in London from May 1888 to March 1889. Three reasons why he chose English country to be his new home. First, we have to improve his knowledge in English. Second, to study and annotate Morga's successos de las Islas Filipinas. Third, London is a safe place for him to fight the Spanish tyranny. Antonio de Morga. Antonio de Morga Sanchez Garay, November 1559, 21 July 1636, was a Spanish soldier, lawyer, and a ranking colonial official for 43 years in the Philippines. So, New Spain and Peru, where he was a president of the real audience for 20 years. So, this is the book of Antonio de Morga, Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, a book written and published by Antonio de Morga, considered one of the most important works in the early history of the Spanish colonizations of the Philippines. So, let's go on to trip across the Atlantic. Rizal was on board as a city of Rumi and rode to London. So, while on board, Rizal entertained the American and European passengers with his marvelous skill of the yo-yo. So, Rizal arrived at Liverpool, England on May 24, 1888. He also spent his night at Adelphi Hotel. So, these are the peak of Liverpool and Adelphi Hotel. So, Rizal wrote to his family. Liverpool is a big and beautiful city, and its celebrated port is worthy of its great fame. The entrance is magnificent, and the costumes house is quite good.
My name is REMOLANO. So for today, I'm going to discuss the life of Rizal in London. So, Dr. Antonio Marigigor, on May 25, 1888, Rizal went to London. He stayed a guest at the home of Dr. Antonio Marigigor, an exile of 1872 and a practicing lawyer in London. So, si Rizal ni-stay siya sa balay ni Dr. Antonio Marigigor. So next, by the end of May, he found the modest boarding place at number 37 Chalcote Crescent, Primrose Hill. Rizal was a boarder of a Bricket family. So si Rizal, katong nga time, dito siya gaboard sa mga Bricket family. So, the Bricket family of Mr. Bricket was an organist of St. Paul Church. Mr. Bricket, his wife, 2 sons and 4 daughters. The oldest of the Bricket sister was Gertrude. The oldest of the Bricket sister was Gertrude, called Getty or Tutti. Rizal came to Dr. Reinhold Rost, was a librarian of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and an authority of Malayan language and customs. Dr. Ross was impressed by Rizal, learning and character, and he gladly recommended Rizal to the authorities of British Museum. So, si Dr. Reinhold Rose, gina-impress siya ka Rizal, dayon gitagaan, din gi-recommend si Rizal nga sa British Museum. So, Rizal called a pearl of news from home, bad news. The bad news was first, the persecution of the Filipino patriots who signed the anti-friar petition of 1888. Second, persecution of Calamba tenants, including the family of Rizal and relatives, for their courage to petition to the government for agrarian reforms. So the third bad news is Furious attacks on Rizal by Senator Salamanca and Vida in the Spanish Cortes and Wenceslao Retana and Pablo Ficed in Spanish newspaper. So the fourth bad news is Rizal brothers-in-law Manuel T. Hidalgo, husband of Saturnina, was exiled by Mayor General Weyler to Bohol without due process of law. The fifth is a friend of Rizal, Laureano Viedo, a medical student of the University of Santo Tomas, was arrested and jailed in believed prison because of the copies of Noli that were found in his house. So, there was a bad news, but there is also a good news. So first, one good news of cheered Rizal, and that was Rev. Vicente Garcia's defense of the Noli Me Tangere against the attacks of the friars. Rizal heard this good news from Mariano Pons. Later, on January 7, 1891, he wrote to attack Father Garcia, expressing his personal thanks.
Annotating Morgan's book, okay? So, the greatest achievement of Rizal in London was the annotating of Morgan's book. Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas was published in Mexico in 1609. Rizal spent many days in the reading room of the British Museum, poring over the pages of this book and laboriously reading the old histories of the Philippines. Those written by Father Quirino, Father Colin, Father Argesola, and Father Plasencia, and other more. So Successors de las Islas Filipinas is the first era book that talks about the history of the Philippines, which is further explained by Rizal as the secondary source of the book. Okay, so next is the short visit to Paris in Spain. Early in September 1888, Rizal visited Paris for a week in order to search for more historical materials from Biblioteque Nationale, Spanish. So, Biblioteque Nationale de France is the National Library of France. Then, on December 11, 1888, he went to Spain, visiting Madrid and Barcelona. For the first time, he met Marcelo H. del Pilar and Mariano Ponce, two titans of the propaganda movement. He exchanged ideas with his new friends and promised to cooperate in the fight for reforms. So, propaganda movement is a nationalism Filipino movement that seeks reforms. Next is Christmas in London in 1888. Rizal returned to London on December 24 and spent Christmas and New Year's Day with the Beckets, which he experienced a delightful Christmas Eve. That night, he wrote to Blumentritt. To his friend Blumentritt, Rizal sent a Christmas gift, a bust of Emperor Augustus, which he made to another friend, Dr. Carlos Gipelag, a Polish scholar. Gave a Christmas gift, a bust of Julius Caesar. Rizal's landlady, Mrs. Beckett, knowing of his interest in magic, gave him a Christmas gift, a book entitled The Life and Adventures of Valentine Vaux, the ventriloquist. So, note that Ferdinand Blumentritt is the friend of Rizal. Kabalo naman muna sa last nga na. That suggests him to volunteer as a physician in Cuba. Next is Rizal become leader of Filipino in Europe. While he's busy in historical studies in London, Rizal learned that Filipino in Barcelona were planning to establish a patriotic society which cooperate in crusade for reforms. A society called Associated La Solidaridad was inaugurated on December 31, 1888 with the following officer: President Galiciano Apacibol, Gaciano Lopez Heina, Manuel Santa Maria, Mariano Ponce, Jose Maria Paniban. La Solidaridad is a society established for reforms in the country. Reform sila. The next is La Solidaridad. By unanimous vote of all the members, Rizal was chosen honorary president. As the leader of his countrymen in Europe, Rizal wrote a letter addressed to members of Association La Solidaridad on January 28, 1889. In this letter, he expresses thanks for the honor of making him a honorary president and gave the following advice. So, Rizal as the president would have been presented in the Spanish Cortes to work for the expulsion of fires, report abuse, and unstable colonial government. Rizal in the Solidaridad newspaper on January 15, 1889, Graciano Lopez Heina founded a patriotic newspaper called La Solidaridad in Barcelona. When he was residing, its aims were as follows. First is to work peacefully for political and social reforms. Second is to portray the deplorable condition of the Philippines so that Spain may remedy them. The third is to oppose the evil force of reaction and medievalism. The fourth is to avoid liberal ideas and progress. And lastly is to champion the legitimate aspirations of Filipino people to life, democracy, and happiness. So, Rizal's first article in La Solidaridad. Rizal's first article, which appeared in La Solidaridad, was entitled as Agriculturals Filipinos. It was published on March 25, 1889, 6 days after he left London for Paris. So, the Los Agricultores Filipinos, translated as the Filipino Farmers, is about farmers in Laguna. So, remember that Rizal's father is a farmer, capitalist, and how the farmers struggled from excessive tax, injustice, and discrimination. So, writings in London. While busy in research study at the British Museum, Rizal received news on Fray Rodriguez, an unabated attack on his knowledge. In defense, he wrote a pamphlet entitled La Vision de Fray Rodriguez, the vision of Fray Rodriguez, which was published in Barcelona under his pen name Dimas Alang. In London, Rizal wrote the famous letter to the young woman of Malolos on February 22, 1889. In Tagalog, he penned it upon request of Marcelo del Pilar to praise the young ladies of Malolos for their courage to establish a school where they could learn Spanish despite opposition of Father Philip Garcia, Spanish parish priest of Malolos. During the homecoming of Rizal, he wanted to... So in London, Rizal wrote a famous letter to the young woman of Malolos on February 22, 1889 in Tagalog. Depend it upon the request of Marcelo del Pilar to praise the young ladies of Malolos for their courage to establish a school where they could learn Spanish. Despite the position of Father Philip Garcia, Spanish Paris, priest of Malolos.
Yeah, so the main points of this letter were a Filipino mother should teach their children love of God, fatherland, and mankind. The Filipino mother should be glad, like the Spartan mother, to offer her sons in the defense of the fatherland. A Filipino mother should know how to her dignity and honor. A Filipino woman should educate herself aside from retaining her good racial virtues, and faith is not merely reciting long prayers and wearing religious pictures, but rather it is living the real Christian way with good morals and good manners. The letter of Jose Rizal to the young woman of Malolos, it emphasized reason and supported the education of women so that they may be enlightened. Religiousness required reason because without reason there was only religiosity. Editor of Trubner's Record, a journal devoted to Asian studies, requested Rizal to contribute some articles in response to his request. The latter prepared 2 articles, The Specimen of Tagal Folklore, and it published in May 18, 1889, and the number 2 is 2 Eastern Fables, and it published on June 18, 1889 also. The article consisted as Filipino proverbs and puzzles as follows. Proverbial sayings and puzzle. Romance with Gertrude Beckett. Rizal had a romantic interlude with the oldest of the 3 Beckett sisters, Gertrude, or Getty, as she was affectionately called. Was a buxom English girl with brown hair, blue eyes, and rosy cheeks. She fell in love with Rizal on cold winter mornings. She had a sunny smile for him, chattering gaily like a hummingbird. During the family picnics, she was particularly very happy because Rizal was with them and she gave him all her attention. And in rainy days, when Rizal stayed at home, she helped him by mixing his colors for painting, as assisted and preparing the clay for sculpturing. So that's how Gertrude or Getty was so in love with Rizal. Their friendship drifted towards romance. So dili pa di sila atukuan ng manag something. So friends pa rin sila ato. Rizal affectionately called her Getty and she fondly called him Patty. So they have their own call sign or like nicknames. As their flirtation was fast approaching the point of no return, Rizal suddenly realized that he could not marry Getty for he has a mission to fulfill in life. Rizal suppressed the passionate yearning of his heart and decided to go away so that Getty may forget him before living in London. He finished 4 sculptural works. And those works are Prometheus Bond, The Triumph of Death over Life, The Triumph of Science over Death, a composite carving of the head of the Beckett sisters, and sent them to his friend Professor Blumentritt in Leitmeritz. Na-realize din ni Rizal nga dili pwede sila kay naa ay siya mission sa life. So moto iyang gi-suppress ng passionate yearning of his heart and decided to go away so that Getty may forget him para dili lang kayo sakit. London. Suddenly on March 19, 1889, Rizal bid goodbye to the kind Beckett family, or particularly Gertrude, and left London for Paris. He was sad as he crossed the English Channel for he cherished so many beautiful memories in London. So, on March 19, 1889, nag-decide si Rizal nga lubiya na di ay sa London. So, that's all. Thank you.